Well, hello, I'm Aimee Olexy. I'm the owner of Talula's Table in historic Kennett Square. I'm very excited and proud to share this presentation today, especially on behalf of Young Moms. I'm very excited to be associated and to show the presentation of this very cool cheese board that we're going to build today. So the cheeses that I select, I try to pick cheeses that eat well together, and they each have a little story. So I'll give you an example of a really cool collection to build a cheese course of 5 different cheeses will be one of the big factors of this board. We'll begin with a fresh goat cheese from Vermont Creamery. This particular one has been rolled in lots of fresh herbs, and for me, it really sets the pace on the board because it shows such great color and style, and in and of itself brings its own beauty to the board. The second cheese in the order of the cheeses is a goat's milk Gouda. This is a Dutch cheese. It's often done with sheep's milk or cow's milk, but a goat's milk Gouda is a very kind of sweet and mild and has a delicious taste almost of almonds. So this will showcase a firm goat cheese in relationship to the soft goat cheese to begin. Then we get into another delicious and just incredibly popular cheese that has an incredibly creamy milk. This is a sheep's milk cheese, which is a manchego. This particular one is a rosemary manchego. Then you'll see that I love to get into a nice creamy cheese. And often this is the piece de resistance of a cheese board, the luscious creamy brie or the rich cheese. So in this case, a couple ideas that I would have for you is using something that you might see in a cheese shop like a triple creme or a double creme brie that really showcases the beautiful cow's milk. It's kind of oozy. People are generally familiar with a lovely brie. This particular one is called Excellence, and it's a luscious, luscious triple creme and almost eats like, butter and delicious. Another really fantastic brie-style cheese when you see in our cheese shop and other cheese shops is your individual bries, that really themselves become the centerpiece of a cheese board. So I wanted to give you 2 options when you're utilizing your rich cheese portion, an individual brie, or again, a camembert style that's a triple creme or a buttery brie of that nature. Then on my cheese boards, I love to include a cool handmade blue. In this case today, I picked an incredible American cheese that's produced in Wisconsin, and it's called Moody Blue. You'll see the rind of the cheese has a darker tone, and that's because this whole wheel of cheese was smoked. Whenever I'm building a cheese board, I usually think about how many guests are attending and how many people are eating it and what else I'm serving. I love if cheese is the center of the show, so I generally kind of go big on the cheeses. If you're looking to purchase cheeses, approximately 1/4 pound to 1/3 of a pound is a good amount of cheese for a guest to eat for an hors d'oeuvre party or perhaps a wine and cheese or a cocktail party. So ultimately, for a group of 8, we may lay out approximately 3 pounds of cheese, but we will want each cheese portion to be approximately 1/3 of a pound. So this size would be a nice ample portion that would serve a group of approximately 8. And that might be a good baseline if you're looking to serve 4 or serve 10. When you're prepping the cheeses, I like to set the precedent for the guests and kind of suggest to them that the cheese board is alive and we want you to begin eating it. So I often will begin slicing the cheese and kind of allowing it to crumble and present. The harder cheeses, like the aged goat's milk Gouda, I do like to fabricate into smaller pieces. I'll trim all of the rinds off the cheeses. I want to make sure that the guests are only having edible things on the cheese board. So it really is, all set up for them to be ready. In the case of that great sheep's milk manchego that I talked about, the rosemary manchego, that's an herb rind. So I'm going to leave that rind on. That's edible. So when I slice this cheese, I will utilize the method of just slicing a little tip of the rind. Wheels cut really beautifully. If you are someone that loves geometry, you can just cut it perfectly in nice little wedges. And then you see these beautiful wedges. I'll begin to slice them so that the same premise exists. I kind of get people started on their board. And then we'll do the Moody Blue. So what I'll do with the blue is create some larger chunks, because blue cheeses, and don't be afraid of this, they crumble. That's the beauty of them. And the crumbles are what makes this cheese look really approachable. So this cheese board is set with my cheeses now. And what's great about preparing them, it's allowing the cheeses to temper. Cheese is not something that you want to eat ice cold by any means. So let it be out of your refrigerator. When I started planning making this cheese board, I pulled my cheeses out about an hour in advance. Then, whenever they're sliced, they even temper further. By the time the guests come, maybe a half an hour after you've presented your cheese board, these will be at a perfect temperature. The other little condiments that I'll work on to make the whole cheese presentation engaging will be some various jams and honeys and textures and crunchy fruit. I love fresh grapes. You never tire of them. It hydrates you while you're eating different cheeses. And actually the grapes allow you to cleanse your palate and taste different cheeses better each time when you have some grapes in between. Sweet dried fruits are particularly nice with blue cheese, so we added a little dried cranberry. We will sprinkle nuts here, particularly with the manchego, because the manchego is great with almonds. It's just a nice crunch with that. I'll put the honey in a smaller vessel, and I'll just keep the portion small, because that will suggest to people that it's not something you want to slather on, it's just something you want to have a little taste. I tend to do my apples and pears and things like that last, because it's really nice when they are on the board looking nice and bright and juicy. So I'll kind of work the fruit into the cheese a little bit. So I'm saying to the guests, hey, pair these things together. There's no rule, but, enjoy them together. Then fresh greenery. This really lifts up the cheese board. I put some greens kind of around very naturally on the cheese board, but I tuck them away and I kind of hide them under things. So it really lifts up the cheeses and it just provides a little bit of texture and height. When I'm selecting crackers, I love things with whole wheat. They feel very natural and earthy with cheeses, and cheeses have a natural earthiness. I also like crackers that are very plain. This is an olive oil cracker that is very simple, and it eats just like a very light biscuit. The other favorite cracker that people love are, seeded and fruit crackers, and they work really nicely too. So I tend to localize the crackers with the cheeses they belong to. So for example, bries and creamy cheeses work better with a little bread and crackers. So I'll kind of put some bread a little more in this area, and I'll populate a little less bread in the firm cheese area, and then back again with the goat cheese, a little more cracker. If the cheese is already scented, I'll use a more mild cracker. If the cheese is very mild and creamy, that is where a nice fruit cracker, a seeded cracker works. What I like to do is kind of freeform, tuck things, and again, lift things up a little bit, be a little artistic about it. I hope when I look at my cheese boards, they're gone in an hour and everything disappeared. I like for every little bite to be gone, and I enjoy bringing this all together on behalf of Young Moms. Please, we'd love to see you in Talula's table. We have all of these cheeses and so many more. Just tell us your crowd and your event. It can be small or big like this. It'll be a lot of fun.